So needless to say, welcome everyone to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing live show. Well, we think it's live, 131. With us is Mr. Robert Cole with Rakshita and Mr. Tim Peter and Associates, and the duality of Holly, who in her current form, we don't know. Maybe it's amoebic. She's back down to one Holly. So
has mitosis or something.
Exactly.
By the way, somebody is murdering a dog in the background.
No, that's my dog Edison, who's decided that the squirrels are currently attacking.
The production values of this show, I think, cannot really be matched by anyone else. So anyone tuning in for the first time, we're pretty sure won't be doing that again.
We have cats. We have cats in the background messing with Robert's audio. We have dogs in the background of mine attacking squirrels. And we have Holly popping in and out with yet to be a incarnate form, and then we have the Jedi.
Wow, what did I miss?
Wow.
Oh, you haven't missed much, buddy.
No, you haven't missed nothing yet.
This has been like the
Did you?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever see a Three Stooges movie? Perhaps.
Of course, yeah.
Hey, Mo.
Every week on the show.
Larry, Mo, and Curly here for.
That's funny.
I'm Curly.
For obvious reasons. Right?
I think I'm Mo.
Hey, I'll take any comparison to the Three Stooges. I think they were brilliant.
Hey, it's Isaac Kirsten's song.
Oh, he's here to save us. Thank God. Hey, wait a second.
Now this is a pleasant surprise.
Now wait. Holly, you've changed because it says
Holly, you look slightly different. I don't know what it is.
I knew that Holly worshipped Isaac, but to do the whole transformation is empowering.
We have a face-off kind of thing going.
Yeah. Holly, we are fully supportive of your choice and
actually
very specific gender reassignment.
Before we introduce Isaac, have you seen Fake App?
Fake App?
Yes, where you can put the face of someone else on a video. Yeah.
No, I haven't.
The best example of this I have seen is that they have put Nicolas Cage's face into every possible movie role. I will find a link. I will shoot it.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. That is
the best use. There are also some very sinister, disgusting uses.
There are
people are putting famous people in some very, very inappropriate positions for sure.
And Reddit actually discontinued. They closed down that board.
They closed down the subreddit. Well, that's good because to put it in
was
short
so
terms,
bad.
it was a hive of villainy and scum.
This is true.
Well, we should make proper introductions. Mr. Isaac Ritzenberg with Two Roads, who is acting as Holly. Holly pawned out. Did she sell you her link? Because it's a pretty pricey thing. I mean, you must have paid some serious money to get the link.
Exclusive club, yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty exclusive.
Yeah.
Can you hear me too? Because I'm trying to figure this technology thing out.
Yeah. We can hear you just fine. We can hear you just fine.
We can hear you, Isaac. We're just ignoring you. We do
around
here.
We should put a warning to it. The only way to get a word in edgewise is literally just to start talking. Because if you wait for somebody to be polite, it's just never going to happen. Because we've long since got over that part of it. But
especially when Ed gets here, it's really.
Oh yeah. When Ed gets here, you just got to argue. Yeah, it's just got to argue.
I expect nothing less with this group.
Hey, well, we have to be legitimate now. After I was whining about the power failure and whining about the APC and everything else. Whoop, we lost Tim. Or Tim's back. There he is. Anyway, so with that in end, Isaac, did you get a copy of the list of ideas that we were going to talk about today, or is this just a happy coincidence that you joined us?
No, I have not seen that list of ideas. Holly asked me to jump on for talk about the strategy conference for a little bit.
Excellent. Oh, very nice. How long do we have you?
We have a sponsor. This is great.
How much time do we have with you today? So we'll prioritize your conversation if you have just a short window with us.
Yeah, probably about 15, 20 minutes.
In that case,
all right. So
I wish I could stay longer. But,
in that case,
that now, but
you say that now. After 15, 20 minutes, you're like, I gotta go.
I have 5 minutes. That's funny.
To that end, let us feature you first, Isaac. Please, as a duly appointed representative of the illustrious and brilliantly intelligent HSMEI Digital Marketing Council, soon to be Marketing Board. or has it already happened? I don't even know if that's already happened. The digital conference coming up in what, a week and a half. What's going on?
Yeah, February 21st. And in looking at now my background of the office I picked to sit in and my color of my shirt, I feel like I blend right into the paint.
You're a floating head right now.
Floating
head.
Somebody had it.
Should have thought about it a little bit better, but we're all good.
Wait until we fake app this thing for you. You're going to be on some strange background.
Nicolas Cage is fake head.
Oh, this is awesome. This is the way I like starting my Friday. This is great.
We call it therapy. We say it's a show, but really it's therapy.
It's either this or day drinking. So yeah,
I do both.
Wait, there was an either or on that one. I thought this was a mutual thing.
Who said it? Who said more? Why don't you tell us about the Digital Marketing Strategy Conference?
Yeah. Oh, yes, please, Mr. Isaac. Please tell us all about this. What's going on?
Yeah. So no, we're really excited. It's like you said, 2.5 weeks away on Wednesday, February 21st. Digital Marketing Strategy Conference. I'm really excited this year. We have a great lineup. The theme is it starts with strategy, because really wanted to focus on what's the strategy behind everything we do from a marketer's and from the digital perspective, right? So we have a great lineup for the day. It goes from 9 until about 5 in the evening. We're going to kick off with a great keynote speaker. I'm not sure if you're familiar with It Starts With Why, that book. Fantastic book. And Heath Slaughter is going to be kicking off the whole conference. And that's really where we wanted to kind of take off on It Starts With Why. And the theme throughout will be It Starts With Strategy. So all the sessions then after will all be tied in with It Starts With Why or It Starts With Strategy. And every presenter is going to really talk about whatever their topic is. They're going to tie it back into the strategy and how that impacts marketing or digital marketing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got to say, I wish it was just coincidence, but I think there's going to be more of an attention to this kind of conversation because for the first time now in a while, stock market is beginning to show its reality to it rather than its progressive. They hadn't talked about it for a while, so it might be a bit of a wake-up call for some people attending that. Yeah, it is true. You do have to prepare for the fact that everything's not going to stay the way it is anymore, and that you're going to have to be smart about how you approach what you're doing. So I know from the agenda points that I know about, it's going to be some crazy good content. And to a compliment to you and the council, you're at a size now where you splinter, right? I mean, up to 2 years ago, it was just one day, all same room. And now for the past year, now this will be the second year, is it? Or is it the third year that it actually, because the attendance, is it third year?
No, yeah, we keep growing. It's been very exciting. It's been very well received, and year after year, the conference keeps growing. So to your point, we start with the big kickoff, and then we're going to break it into two tracks. We have a leadership track and we have a best practices track. So it's very exciting. On the leadership track, we're going to be talking about a little bit about AI, artificial intelligence. On the best practices track, we have some revenue management and how that ties in with the whole digital marketing landscape. We're going to talk about a lot of personalization. I know that's been a big topic in the digital space. So how do we personalize our websites? How are we personalizing our digital media platforms? So I think we have some really exciting topics.
Now, I know that normally you have a high bar for people to be able to speak at your conference, but somehow some ruffians have snuck in. I don't know how you slacked into the fact that you're allowing me to co-speak with Michael Klein from MGM, but I guess the check cleared and y'all said fine. Go ahead, just don't talk a lot.
And Stuart
yeah,
is
I'm doing
also
it.
on.
Oh yes, yeah.
So they lowered the bar even further. We're in trouble.
I thought we kept you on a lightning round, so you only had 7 minutes.
That's exactly right.
Case? Did I miss the?
No,
messed that up.
Stuart misread that. He's ready for 70 minutes.
Yes, I read hours, not minutes.
And I'm in there on the technical department to make sure that some altercations happen, so that the 7 minutes seems to never end for him. It just seems
that's right.
Hey, well, and actually, I'm shepherding 2 sessions, so I'm not going to be on stage to the relief of everyone, probably not. But we've got Robert Dawson talking about AI, which should be a good presentation. The one that I'm particularly looking forward to is Jump Shot. Has some amazing data, which is not pixel based, it is not cookie based, but they have the actual 100 million. Well, and I figured out how they do it. I don't know. Should I reveal how they do it? It's very interesting. I noticed that. Okay, so Jump Shot has this really good behavioral data of what pages people have gone to and the sequence of where they've gone and everything like that. So what they're going to be talking about actually is on loyalty or disloyalty, that the more frequency that you have going to a particular hotel group, just name any hotel group, there's a higher frequency that guest is booking with someone else. So it's like, higher volume travelers or more frequent travelers book across brands even more. So it's pretty amazing. But their funding, they got, I think, $22 million from Avast. And Avast are the antivirus folks. And so what they're doing is that data anonymized when you're going through all the antivirus stuff and it's checking what sites and things like that, that is getting peeled off and, put into a massive big data area where they are then analyzing, here's where they're going, so they can see who's down on whatever purchase pages and what is actually, yes, they were on the frequent guest page, they're logged in, and they're at actual purchase, which is pretty freaking amazing or outrageously scary data to have, but absolutely amazing conclusion. So they're trying to craft some really interesting stuff into 35 minutes. So. Yeah, and those travelers aren't quite as loyal as people think. They signed up for the program. We've got them. Like, not so much. So.
Yeah. Wow.
And Isaac, what else can we look forward to at the conference?
Oh, actually, I've got the agenda here. Want me to run through the?
Yeah.
Sure. One of my favorites.
Being a member of Isaac's team, who is just, actually, I've got to give credit to Isaac. I mean, we have, planning meetings every 2 weeks, and they've been 30 minutes, and many times we've been going under. I mean, between Isaac and Julie Jones at HSMAI, they have got this thing on rails, and I hope I am not jinxing anything by saying that. So,
I do need to ask a question, though, Robert. You attend this meeting, yes?
Yes.
And they come in under 30 minutes.
Yes, absolutely.
Did they put you on mute? Is that what happened? There it is. Yeah.
Anyone?
We've been trying to adopt this whole agile process at a Two Roads, so I wanted to apply that to this group as well. So it works really well. You just mute people. Works well.
That's awesome. That's
exactly. No, so hey, if I've ever spoken at a conference, anyone ever see me go over? No, not ever. If there's a time constraint, I will abide by it. So
and that's why we're by popular demand, we're bringing back the not necessarily the lightning round, but we're bringing the lightning round back that we've had in the past. But we've kind of modified it a little bit, where it was we had 6 minutes, 40 seconds each presenter, and they had 20 seconds per slide, and they were timed. We changed that up a little bit. So this year we still have the lightning round per se, but we're calling it the digital talks to make it more like a TED Talks type of chat. Each person has 7 minutes. They're in control of their slides. We have some great presenters that are going to be talking about there, but it gives us six topics that we'll quickly go through, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. We broke it up this year, so it'll be 3 in the beginning, 3 at the end to kind of liven things up throughout the conference. So it's going to be something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. And the presenters don't know about the obstacle course feature either, do they? Stuart's going to love it. Yeah.
It's based on the Ellen show, the game show, where if you answer incorrectly or do anything that nobody likes, a button is hit and either elevated or dropped or splashed on or something.
Well, that's the Tarzan swing from the balcony. That's going to be really
fun. So a few of the things on the agenda for the leadership track, there's some travel trends from Expedia Media Solutions, which will be great. They've got some multi-generational things. We've got the AI presentation with Robert Dawson. Let's see what else on leadership track. Oh, Lauren and Michael Klein from MGM Resorts talking about revenue management colliding with digital marketing analytics.
Colliding's such a strong word. Mutually symbiotic, embracing relationship for a better improvement of each other.
Slamming
continually aligned.
I think
Yeah. Square peg, round hole. And the where customer loyalty meets behavior, which is the jump shot session. On the best practices track, Chris LaRose from Hilton is doing maximizing digital marketing and revenue management partnerships. So that's how to work together on the more practical basis. And then also fellow from Hedgehog Development is talking about individualization of digital properties. So treating visitors like individuals. Wow, that's a novel concept. That would be very good. And then, yeah, exactly. And then got someone from Hebs and Sojourn talking about guest acquisition using CRM data. And then finally is understanding data's whole story, which is a couple folks from Marriott going through kind of their I think a case study of what they've been doing. So it's great content, and I think we had 60 people sign up in the last 48 hours or something. So they're probably going to be a record-breaking attendance. So
what is the estimated attendee number at this point?
I think
3.
Yeah, just the other day we were up to 7, and we're going to be up to 10 here pretty soon. but yeah, no, I mean, we're at
all of us.
Not me.
We were at 300 the other day. We're hoping to be up at close to 330, 340. So we're really excited. We're going to have a really good group, but it's still a good, not too large where it's still intimate. It allows you to talk with your, kind of make connections and stuff. And I think, at the end, I think we have a great closer as well. We have Michael Chong, and he's doing a presentation talking on, it starts with innovation. Unbox your thinking to create innovation and breakthroughs. So I think it's going to be a
really, really great program to fill in.
It just froze for a second, so I wasn't sure.
No, you're good. You're good. And to that end, and we'll remind everyone, and we've talked about this before, every year that we've had, for the past years we've been doing this show and prior to the digital conference, this is like meeting old friends week. Because for anybody that is in this industry that does this stuff, this is the one conference that you actually merge at. You see the same people, talk to the same people. Yes, there's different players with different vendors that kind of shift and move. But the people that are in the space that know this stuff, that work with this stuff, for all the companies that are engaged with hospitality, this is the place everybody shows up at. And you get that chance to, if you've never been to the conference, go there, and it looks like it's a family reunion, because it's like everybody's like, hey, and you're hugging and you're like talking. And it's like, haven't seen this and this, and it's an amazing opportunity to share the wealth of knowledge, because unlike other affiliations, you actually want to share what you've learned. It's not we don't look at anybody as competitors. We're talking to each other like, hey, did you try this? And this works this way, and whatever. And it's really a great chance to really learn what's truly happening as a sensitivity touch to digital marketing, especially for hospitality. It's a great opportunity for that to happen.
And technology is evolving so quickly, and it's how do we embrace it? How do we apply the tactics or the best practices at each of our different hotels? I mean, that's really where the big benefits, right? It kind of helps you talk to your peers and hear from experts.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And the night before is the Adrian Awards, so you have all the awards for digital marketing and PR for destinations and all the hoteliers, and they also have the introduction of the 25 greatest minds in hospitality, and we have actually. What? We do. There's a guy you can. I'm not sure if he's frozen. His picture may be
kind of frozen.
Where he's obviously the expression looking at why he's considered one of the greatest minds in hospitality marketing. Tim Peters is Tim is being recognized, but it's a little disconcerting.
There's in his tux.
There he is in his tux. He will be looking.
That actually is at the HSMA. That's at the Adrian.
That was the Adrian.
So the one thing, though, you may have picked up on Tim saying that he was not going to be at the Digital Marketing Conference because he gets this award on Tuesday night, and then all of a sudden He forgets all the little people who knew.
All the little people are gone.
Going to go
Oh
celebrate.
my god! Oh my god!
I
don't
hate when
forget
that
the little-
happens.
I thought it was just when he
Not
was celebrating all night. He was
Yeah.
pulling an all-nighter.
He'll talk about them in his memoirs. Okay, somebody might get a little mention somewhere.
We'll be in the appendix at the back. Refer to peon number 1, peon number 2.
I don't forget the little people. You all haunt my dreams. So it's actually unfortunate because everything Lauren just said, I completely agree with about it's old home week. You get to see great friends, etc. I have a client I've worked with for a number of years who has a standing meeting the same week as the conference each of the last 2 years. So I've made it to the Adrians each of the last 2 years and missed the conference each of the last 2 years. And I'm hoping at this conference, when we schedule next year's, we can move it to a different week. Because it's killing me to not be at the conference.
Or Isaac, hoping that Isaac will be also heading the conference again next year because he's done it the last couple of years, I think, on the conference committee. Perhaps if you have an open bar. I'm trying to look at, he shows up at Adrian's. He does not show up at the digital marketing. I'm looking for some. Just analyze.
I think we can just tell Tim. When we give him those little wooden tokens, we give him the wooden token saying he gets free beer.
And I like the way you think that the open bar does start at 5. But I think you're right. We need to bring some Bloody Marys in the morning, maybe, and kind of
mimosas
throughout the day.
Yeah.
I like to look. You think. Well, no, that's tying it into digital marketing is you look at the outcomes, right? Here he is attending and here he isn't. So then you go backwards up all of those touch points and figure out what is different with the content, with the the behavior, and that. I think we found where things fork there for
the commonality. The commonality is.
I'm going to talk to Julie, see what kind of CRM we could apply to this conference that we could learn this year and apply to everybody. So for next year, we can personalize the experience and what we give them. We'll know their drinks, what we can cater to them.
Yeah, there'll be the drinking table. There'll be
the shiatsu massage breakout with somebody at the top of the room.
The California, Colorado delegation is just in the corner eating pizza.
Don't go away all actually.
That's right. Isaac, dude, you have to come over to the show more often, please. You don't have to hijack Holly's leaving. You can come over here anytime, man. I'll send you. Well, you get the invite. You get the weekly invite, so I would love for you to be able to pop in because, as you can tell, we hate doing this. It's miserable.
This is a blast.
Like I said, we call it a show, but it's actually therapy for all of us. It's our one chance to go over and talk.
And Ed's not here yet, right? So
but then it gets here, everything gets serious all of a sudden because, Brack, no. So, but do you have time to hang with us a couple of minutes? Can we hit a couple of topics with anything? Is there anything that you saw in the news, Isaac? Since we have the pleasure of your company for a couple more minutes that you want to mention that you're hey.
There were 3 really kind of big topics. One was what's going on with Airbnb. Second was what's going on with Google. And third is what's going on with Expedia. So,
Actually, before we do that, I do want to do one thing before Isaac has to leave, whenever that is. Okay. Isaac, where can people find out more about the conference and how can they go ahead and register?
Good point.
Good idea.
Oh, yeah, great point. We can register online. Just go to the HSMAI website. So what is that? hsmai.org. And then under the events section, you'll be able to go to the Digital Marketing Strategy Conference. But yes, please go register. I'd love to see everybody there. And when you're there, come out and say hi. Love to meet you.
But and for those who don't actually know you, we know you, so we're just like, hey, Isaac. But what do you do, Isaac? What is it what mystery stuff is it that you do? Why are we so happy to see you? What is it you do?
Yeah, I ask myself that question every day. But I come in, I pull a few levers, and
push a few buttons.
Exactly. My big focus now is really websites, personalization, and trying to really implement the different tactics throughout our Two Roads websites, and not just from the brand level, but with each of their properties. We're working on a few ideas and concepts that we're rolling. We're actually rolling them out right now on how to make sure we can personalize the guest experience when they're on our websites, and then start blending the online and the offline experience, right? So whether a guest is on property or whether they're on our websites, if they go and they get a massage or go to the spa or they go to the golf course, but they didn't look at those pages on our websites, next time they come back and visit our site, hopefully they'll be able to start seeing some of that content that's related to what they're interested in. You know, if they do a Google search and they're looking for romantic getaway, obviously they don't want to see kids jumping into the pool on the homepage, Masthead Hero. It's just those types of things that we're trying to do from a global perspective and then roll out with each of our properties as well. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
That's great.
That is good stuff.
Really very smart.
Are you going to the revenue conference at March in DC? Will you be at that for your company?
For our company?
Yeah, for Two Roads.
Oh, the Two Roads one, yes. I'm not sure if I'm going to be making that one yet or not. There's a few scheduling conflicts, but I definitely would like to be. Are you going to do that?
But to say it's foolishly, they asked me to go over and spend some time with you guys. So it's like, oh, if I get to spend time with Isaac, that's even better. That's like bonus round.
Well, now that I see what I have to see what I can do to
clear the schedule, man. Because I'll be up there. It should be a lot of fun. And to be honest with you, I would love. And just as a sidebar to this, I want to reach out to you because I want to make it relevant. So I would love to get up to speed with some stuff so that I'm not talking behind what you're already doing and talk ahead of what it is.
What's that, Tim? Is there an open bar? Is that what you just asked?
Wait, DC? Booze? Yeah, sure. Why not?
You know, the Liaison Hotel, it's a great hotel. It's like a block from the Capitol. So it's
that's a train ride for you, Tim. Come on. That's a train ride.
You know?
Absolutely.
Right 2 blocks from Union Station. Union Station, right? The train station. So you can.
Yeah.
2 shots from Union Station.
It's right in stumbling distance. You can do the Booze Cruise train ride and then just stumble out and hit the bar as soon as you walk in. I mean, come on.
I'd be responding faster today, but I'm actually hungover as we speak. So this is
no. The only way to avoid a hangover is never get sober.
Absolutely.
Tim was celebrating the opening of the Olympics probably live, right? Streaming them live from Korea at 6 a.m. Drinking, celebrating.
Absolutely.
And then now he has the excuse that he's pre-celebrating his top 25 award. So this is the build-up. So it's one from the next.
No better time to start training.
That's
this has been a pleasure. This has been great. I do need to get ready to hop off, but
pull some levers and push some buttons.
I need to go to work.
Not babysitting.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm ready to start working out.
Look at that. He actually has it in his office. I think I have his little coffee cup. I'm like, okay, fine.
I'm borrowing somebody's office. It was meeting rooms were hard to come by this morning. I saw that there, so I thought that would be a fun little prop.
Perfect prop. Isaac, there's only one thing you have to promise, and that is you have to promise to come back because it has been too much fun to have you with us.
Absolutely. I'd love to. This has been a great way to start a Friday.
There you go. Well, thank you for taking the time. Yep. No, it is, and that's why we enjoy it so much for us as well. But so again, HSMAI, the conference is February 21st. Yes. Tickets are at hsmi.org. I think I also made a bit.ly, which I'll put into the show as well, because I put a bit.ly for the Adrian Awards, and I put a bit.ly for because unfortunately, hsmi.org is a challenging site, and sometimes to get to the place where you need to get to actually book. So if you're not a member, you're going to hit a wall. So you got to make sure that just to give it the time, and it's a couple of steps, and you'll get to the registration page. But it's so much worth the effort.
And if you want a more challenging way, if you could spell my name, you can look me up on LinkedIn, Isaac Kirsten's name, and I have a link to it off of my profile. So
there we go.
You know what? There's so few Isaacs in the world, especially with hospitality. I think really just typing in your first name is going to come up for anybody anyway. So I think we're pretty good on it.
But one thing to note for HSMAI, there is a subcommittee of the Digital Marketing Council and here's Ed showing up. But they now are getting the RFP ready for a new website for HSMAI.
Yay!
Nice.
That's good. Good. Well overdue. I mean, Mr. Ed, how are you? You know Isaac, yes, I hope.
Isaac, how are you, my friend?
Good.
Isaac, leave while you still can.
Yes. Run. Ed's here.
It's about to go down.
You got it? Perfect timing, and it's
Perfect
great to
timing.
see you. Hopefully, I'll see you in a week and a half in New
I
York.
will be there. I'm looking
You will
forward
be there.
to it.
You will be there.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely join us. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. And
Thank you, Isaac.
Cheers.
And we'll have to thank Holly later for having shared her link with you. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
well, I was confused because when I was logging on, I saw her picture, but I didn't see my own, and then I was trying to figure out what lever to push, and I'm glad I figured it out.
You don't get your own officially until like your fourth visit.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to getting my official handle. So.
There you go. You get your official invite. So, but
Awesome.
thank you for taking the time with us.
Bye, Isaac.
Yeah, take care. Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye.
Well, so Mr. Ed, thank you. You
Gentlemen.
missed a lot of fun with Isaac. It was good, but you also missed the false start that I had just as I was turning the show on. The power died. I mean, literally. I mean, boom, gone.
You're telling me there were technical issues to
No.
getting-
That's why you see Tim only in static form, because for some reason he doesn't move. When he turns on his camera, he stays frozen. So we have no idea what that is. And Stuart has been more than patient with us, even though
I
he's
just
had to
nod
listen
and
to
smile. Yeah.
he's the eye candy of our show today. Hey, by the way, congratulations! I listened to one of your podcasts, and it was absolutely brilliant about your Google discussion. By the way, I mean, it really. I can't begin to say how good you and Tim's. I mean, Tim. Again, I keep saying this. It's not out of just saying it to say it. I listen. Your two podcasts are the must things I listen to every week. I do not miss when you guys pop up podcasts.
If you've got an hour, you listen to Stuart. If you have 15 minutes, you listen to Tim. And if you have an hour and 15 minutes, you listen to both.
Or do it at double speed. Do it in half.
I do it at 1.5. I do it at 1.5, except for you guys. Honestly, I don't speed.
You want to tell your boss you're doing something great on a Friday, but you really just want to like goof off. You watch this show. It's education, I promise.
Yeah, I don't actually. Either of your podcasts are the only two that I do not speed up. Everything else I speed up. You guys actually listen at
We
duration.
speak fast. It's hard for me to listen to us at 2 speed, and I know what we said, so we talk quick.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, but you're much more organized than obviously our show is here, because it's like, hey, here's newsies, here's what's going on. I mean, you're very structured when you do, which is really nice to listen to. And
Yeah, my favorite is Tim's. Tim's is the first one I listen to when it shows up. It's so good. It's like that 15-minute nugget of, shit, I'm not nearly as smart as I thought I was, because Tim's way smarter than me.
and he brings you down little weird roads. What was the last analogy you did? It was like way out and left. Gravity. I'm listening. It's like, what the hell are you talking about gravity for? And then you bring it all back together. And I'm like, damn, that was smart. Anyway, so we do actually have some big news items today. And Airbnb is definitely one of the ones. SiteMinder's running around with it and all that kind of fun stuff. But Mr. Robertson, you were so generous in putting the topics together. If you want to cue off on something, that'd be great. I'm going to go grab my other cup of coffee.
Sure. I thought was really kind of the top story. Let me post it. Was Airbnb officially opening its platform to hotel distribution. So I think that is a big move. They've initially hooked up with SiteMinder, and they are now inviting hotels. And there are certain standards that I will post that I just found. I'll have to go dig those out. But I think that's going to be a very, very interesting development for that platform. And it's not going to be every hotel and that sort of thing, but they are going to be kind of hand selecting. Well, maybe not hand selecting, but at least there are some filtering criteria involved to participate.
So this is going to create an interesting dynamic on the speaker circuit coming up, because so many people for so many years have been pushing the Airbnb button to get attention and talk about how the sky is falling. And this topic's going to be about Airbnb, so that way everyone will watch and panic and stuff. So there'll probably be a little cycle of love, because the hotels who get in initially are going to get a really good deal on it. It's going to be good distribution. It'll be at a lower cost than some of the other channels. And then as Airbnb starts ratcheting up, because they need to make money, it'll turn back into a hate.
Should we fill in the blank? What he was going to say next? There he goes.
Do you lose me?
I lost you unless you lost me.
I see you.
Well, the only one that we lost was Tim, according to what I'm looking at.
I'm back. Okay, you're back.
Okay. Did everyone hear the how I thought it was going to go from love back to hate?
No. The beginning of it, they're going to.
Yeah.
It started at hate, then it's going to go to love, and then when Airbnb needs to make money and goes to like a sustainable model, it'll turn back to hate. And I just think it's going to be really entertaining to watch.
Well,
Yeah, I agree.
The
There's a lot of
interesting thing. Yeah, the interesting thing with their model, though, is, and what's appealing to hoteliers is, oh, look at the fees. They're only, depending, 3 to 5% ish, and I'm thinking that may go up. But what they forget about is there's another 12% popped on for the consumer, right? So it's all bundled in together as one fee, but it's a lower portion. So the hoteliers or the hosts are kind of pushing some of the distribution costs up the funnel, so they don't have to bear the full brunt of it. That will be very, very interesting to see how the hoteliers deal with that in terms of their pricing and what how they're dealing across multiple channels, their own websites. All that is going to get very, very interesting, I think, and throw in a new dimension that I don't think most of the hoteliers are ready to deal with. We'll see what happens with the independent properties that are getting targeted for this. So.
Yeah, and I will say this: I've had a lot of requests over the last several months from independent properties that want to be distributing on Airbnb. Like, how can we do it? How can we?
Well, some of your clients are basically a serviced Airbnb product, anyways. I mean, they're full condos. I mean,
they are condominium. Yeah, we have a lot of vacation rental type properties that happen to have hotel type properties, right? But lots of amenities, full service stuff. That's what that kind of sweet spot is. But it's going to be interesting to see what this does to the Airbnb brand and the perception, because people go to Airbnb for a specific purpose, right? If you're traveling in a group, you're looking for an alternative, or I've used it when I'm going to like Savannah for a half marathon, and all the hotels are outrageously expensive. So then I get some of my buddies that are also going and getting an Airbnb. So does Airbnb now become a legitimate OTA?
Right.
I mean, pretty much it is.
Yes.
Sorry to break in, Lauren. Stop liking the things because they mark them as spam and nobody can see the links. I don't know why that happened.
I'm not marking right now, but no.
So Lauren's approval means it gets marked as spam?
Well, no.
Yeah. There's a technical.
Lauren,
I saw
everyone
something
how much
coming.
you hate
and
Flip.
said it was spam.
Wow. I didn't know I had that influence. No, I haven't liked anything yet, but...
you haven't? Oh, no, I don't know.
No,
maybe it's just structural. If I post a link, it's marked as spam. Maybe that's
you, not Lauren.
Yeah, I was about to say...
This show is spam. I don't know.
Yes, maybe the show is spam. No, actually the show comes through, but everything that Robert posts obviously gets wiped right off as spam, but everything else that goes out, I mean, Ed, you've shared links and it stayed. But if for some reason, whatever Robert shares something, it gets pulled right down as being spam. You no longer can post to it because it's spam.
Well, when we went through the tests, you were liking it, and then it went poof, and we couldn't even come back and
yeah.
It. So I don't know. Anyway, well, I'm trying to post links, which their standards are kind of interesting. So let me pull it up. If hopefully it will pull up. Here we go. What are Airbnb's standards for hotels? Some of the qualities they look for in the listings include 1, access to common gathering spaces and or events. 2, which is something that Airbnb is missing, right? That has always been the wrap. So I think these guys are really, really smart. Okay.
They see the gaps and they're trying to fill them for sure.
They are. So they're bringing in hotels that have these meeting spaces, and then it's going to be, hey, here are people who are staying in the community. Here's a place,
right?
And who knows? Maybe it's going to be, here's a service fee. You can pick up your key there. You can dine here. Who knows, right? There's a
Why
whole
not?
town.
I mean, there are Expedia desks in hotels now. Why
Absolutely.
can't there be Airbnb desks? And that's also how they check in the local community.
Right. So I think when you look through these, keep this framed of this is what Airbnb feels a hotel should be, right? So access to common gathering spaces. Number 2, guest rooms with personal touches that are individually unique and are local in design, right? Something that gives you a sense of the local community. Rooms and common spaces that incorporate local influences, unique design characteristics which set the property apart from others, high quality photography, all those sorts of things. So it's like, yes,
no
that's
brand.
what you want your hotel.
They just said no brands. They said no brands.
Yeah, exactly.
No brands.
Yeah,
that's what they said.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
we also
to-
and then they look for the hosts. So then, then the hosts, that's the facility. Then here's the staffing: locally relevant or unique amenities, local food or beverage, unique features, and then digitally local maps with personalized recommendations, not local tourist bureau map with ads, local tours, neighborhood walking tours, an owner or manager that is available on property full time. I mean,
So,
that's.
how much you want to bet they don't follow a single one of those rules in Orlando?
They can't, right?
They can't.
maybe not.
They want the inventory. They're going to have to let.
Does Disney count as a local walking tour?
Yeah, exactly.
I forget who was. I was talking to a client, and they equated the hospitality industry to the spoiled kid at Christmas that just opens a present, looks at the toy, likes it, plays for it for a second, tosses it over the shoulder, and looks for the next new toy. And it's kind of like, at your point, the whole idea of Airbnb. It's the love, the hate, and it's just the newest thing to buzz about, but they don't really know what they're embracing or arguing.
People don't fully understand the impact yet. You know?
Yeah.
But so I think if Airbnb really just wanted to make sure they hit their quota on this, they should just add the word blockchain to it as well.
AI,
with a bot.
AI,
Blockchain
AI
with an AI overlay, and
You know, I think you're being a little overly cynical with these guys because they.
I like Airbnb's move here. I think it's a great move. It's also just a great way to get the industry to stop trying to build laws against you. If you're all of a sudden putting money in their pocket, it's a great way to get people to stop working against you.
I think it's preemptively doing two things. One is if legislation is passed to prevent individual homeowners from getting the breaks they get from renting out their property, right now they've got inventory regardless. That's number one. But two, the hotel industry was getting ready to go on the offense, and one of the biggest arguments they had was they had unique amenities and things that these Airbnb properties did not have. They had communal meeting spaces, they had pools, they had this stuff Airbnb could not give away. So now getting that inventory on Airbnb and trying to get those properties to let Airbnb license that out to other properties as well, which will probably be the next move. They've negated two of their biggest threats.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point, Stuart.
Absolutely. Well, and Airbnb, as the economies continue to improve and as the upper middle class who own vacation homes get further away from the memory of the financial crisis, it will be harder and harder for them to convince those people to rent their vacation properties when they're not there. They have a inventory problem because VRBOs existed forever. I mean, Orlando, Myrtle Beach, half the inventory in Osceola County, which is where most of Disney is, half of the inventory are these neighborhoods that were purpose built to be vacation homes. So, that goes toe to toe with the hotel rooms, including Disney's. And so it's always existed. The difference is people's willingness opened up quite a bit when they were having a hard time making the mortgage payments. They were all of a sudden willing to let people stay in their vacation homes. But most people who had vacation homes didn't want anyone else staying in it. I mean, especially like a lot of people who live in Orlando own vacation homes in New Smyrna Beach and Daytona and Cocoa Beach and that whole East Coast side, and none of them ever wanted anyone except for someone they knew staying in those condos. But now, after the financial crisis, it was oh my gosh, thank God I can rent this out. But it's constricting. It's constricting again because.
But Airbnb also has the trust factor, right? Where at least you're voted up and that sort of thing. And if you are a first-time guest, you will have, at least at the beginning, you might not get accepted because you didn't have a background. Now they're doing more of instant booking and things like that. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't really gone through the host side levers that they have available now, but I think you can still kind of have, if they're first time guests, you don't necessarily automatically let anyone in. But the one thing I wanted to point out is this whole there was intense pressure from some very, very heavy hitters who were their investors to go public and to go public now. sort of
Yeah.
thing. And Chesky and those guys resisted it, and they managed to get Sequoia to back them, which really wound up in their CFO leaving and the promotion of a woman into the first time COO position, which is what that CFO wanted to do post public offering. So they have pushed back, which I think was a good move. They have more stuff to do. There's certainly risks of extending out the timeline for their employees to monetize their participation, their hard work in the startup. But I think they've got a plan.
Yeah, but they've not stumbled much, so I don't think that risk is as big. Like, you have risk on like monetizing employee options when you've had stumbling blocks and things like that. Airbnb has executed really well.
They
have,
really,
but
they
their
really have.
risk is the lack of growth potential unless they pivot, right? Because they've had tremendous growth, and we all know that when people go public right now, it's really not about profitability, because as a percentage, their profit isn't that great, but their growth potential is what people would invest in. If inventory is shrinking, they have no growth. So that's why I think they're going into this hotel space, because it's the only way, that and flights and experiences and restaurants, that's the only way they can continue the growth in that trajectory.
And they are going to get constrained by the cities for two, number one on affordable housing, right? That is the real bludgeon that is the real issue, which again the hotel industry is kind of meandering around into, but that should have been what they started with at the beginning, as opposed to, oh, you're hurting hotels. It's like, boy, that you aren't going to get a lot of sympathy, sympathy there from the community.
A product that is more accessible to people and less expensive, and we're supposed to
and helps homeowners who are struggling, middle class people to get more income, right? And all those sorts of those play very, very well and are powerful politically. So, so they're doing that little tightrope act. But the other thing is, these guys are smart. Their COO wrote a great article saying, as Airbnb's first COO, here's my plan. And it just lays out, here's what we're doing with the company, here's the culture, here's what we're doing, and that's the way you want to do it.
Right.
Sorry, John, I'm playing technology as I'm trying to get everything live. On Periscope was having an audio issue, so I'm fixing it. Sorry.
But I mean, I read in between the lines when they're saying that there was, it was a division in the board at the board level. I feel like some of the people there are concerned about the future. Can we maintain growth? Can we maintain profitability at the level we have? So is now the best time to float publicly, because are we going to maximize our revenue now?
Right.
I think the majority of people there feel like they haven't peaked yet, and this pivot is a big indication of that. They think there's a lot of opportunity in front of them. So that's why they're delaying the IPO.
Well, and let's be honest, they have a lot of the same problems Uber does. You can get kicked out of a city in your current model.
Right.
Like, if that happens leading up to an IPO, which, by the way, any city that's actively trying to negotiate with Airbnb, that's when you do it. Because you're going to get to where you want to go much faster with much less legal, because Airbnb is going to want it to go away. But I mean, with Uber, like, what did they get kicked out of London, right?
Yeah, that's
right.
Listen, I'm sure that's spooked Airbnb's board going, oh crap, that could happen to us. Because they break laws. Like, Airbnb breaks laws right now.
Yeah,
Still,
but Airbnb,
they're being much better
about this in terms of
no question. But don't forget, pay attention to public offerings. Like, sensible arguments and things like that go completely out the window.
Right.
I mean,
they're like, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Tim. And you are
You're just not moving.
Yeah, your eyes are closed. Your mouth's kind of open.
Okay.
There we go.
How about now? How about now?
No, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fine. I'm just gonna talk for a second. So the one thing that I think is worth noting, and Ed, I agree with you completely. The one thing that Airbnb has done better than Uber, significantly better than Uber, is they've had public affairs department almost since day one, right? So they've been actively lobbying and actively working with local governments, local regulators and the like from day one. I agree with you completely that that's still the biggest threat to them, right? If they get bounced 2 weeks before their IPO, that's going to make for a real bad day for the Uber folks, right?
Yeah, and honestly, if you are in a city, if you're a city like San Francisco that hasn't been making a lot of headway against this, like when Airbnb's in IPO is when you double down and outlaw them, and
Oh no, in San Francisco, that has been worked out, and Airbnb's cooperating with them on the taxes and everything, and everything's.
And I will say, I do not see Airbnb as the same as Uber. Well, new Uber,
old
I think
Uber,
old Uber, you know how I felt about them. I felt that, and I still feel that a lot of them should be in prison.
Right.
Especially if you've been following the Waymo lawsuit. Yeah.
We don't need no stinking rules. Or laws.
All right. So, I think that was a good topic. Let's go to another one.
Pick another one.
Next up, do people want to talk about Expedia or Google?
Let's pick Expedia since we want to
either
poke at people.
Yeah.
Okay. Expedia acknowledges a new balance of power with hotels in direct booking challenge. Now, this was, they announced their quarterly earnings. They missed on revenue. Oops, they missed on profit. Not so good. And the stock market was down 1,000 points. They lost 20% of their market cap yesterday, which that hurt. Well, I'm exaggerating, 19 point something, so not quite 20.
Yeah, they unfortunately
wasn't that
hit
bad.
with a perfect storm.
Yeah.
We'll call it that.
Well, not having beloved Dara, who went to Uber. The trusted CEO. So now Mark's kind of in there going, oh shit. Sort of thing. I think was probably the outcome of yesterday. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know if according to Dennis, they really acknowledged a new balance of power with the hotels. The hotel direct booking campaigns are shaving off some volume and traffic to Expedia. It looks like, and they said they're going to be spending more money on marketing, which that combination, missing your numbers, acknowledging that you've got some new some stronger competition than you acknowledged before, and you're going to increase spending is not a good recipe for.
Did it also say in there something about them refocusing to independent hotels or something like that?
Well, that's what's been happening with basically, Expedia's main tool here, right? So, and that sort order is really based on a lot of predictive analytics on what is going to be best for has the highest probability of converting for the guest, right? What's the best thing? But there is some factor.
What's the highest conversion probability at the highest profitability for Expedia?
Yes, right. And somehow they're balancing those two off, which who knows, right? They're probably continuously.
That's not a hard algorithm. I mean, that's not all that complex. And honestly, all it equates to, which, listen, I called it out to a couple of my brand buddies who were so excited about getting the commission dropped further and all that. And I just said, all that means is your hotels are just going to move further down the sword.
Right. That's right.
So yes, you absolutely are now paying less, but you're also getting less.
Right.
Which depending on the property may not be a problem.
Right? I agree.
Some properties that's absolutely a problem. For some properties, that's the best thing that ever happened to them.
Yep. But this is where the challenge of that balance comes in, and this is what happens when you try to make a swooping single model work across 600 brands, because it seems like there's that many inside of each of these companies now, that service a consumer from first time on vacation to Saudi prince. I'm kind of saying that I think the brand, sure, you have your collective bargaining, but maybe like a Waldorf Astoria should have a slightly different deal than a Hampton Inn.
Well, yeah, and actually that's a very good point, because the other thing is these deals aren't dynamic. right? So you don't really have. Well, there's certainly Expedia has introduced the capability to bid up, right? So you can add it, and Booking.com I think actually did that first.
They've had that for a while,
yeah. So I want to sweeten the deal, move me up in the list, but I think that's where things are going to start going, because you're right. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You've got demand issues, but you've got kind of this fixed compensation, which doesn't help a lot of dexterity in terms of dealing with that.
Let's talk about the problem this actually creates for the brands. Okay, so we all know what's happened here. So consumers who know how to search for travel are still searching on the OTAs.
Absolutely.
And they're discovering what hotel they're going to book through that. You've now pulled your brand out of the prime positioning of that. Mm-hmm. So, like, I booked my trip to Boston. I decided where I was going to stay initially off of Expedia searches, and then I booked the Omni directly.
Right.
But the Omni was listed like third on the Expedia list. I never clicked to the second page of available hotels on the Expedia list. But I also can tell you, I didn't see the DoubleTree that's right near the Omni. I did see the Marriott on the Wharf because that's one of the iconic properties to stay at. But I'm like, there wasn't a lot of brand representation there. It was the softer brands or independents that were showing in the search. And quite honestly,
but I'm going to take a different point of view on that, Ed, because here's the thing: if you're the DoubleTree in Dallas and you need to rely on Expedia to fill your rooms midweek, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
What you should be using Expedia for is, in a perfect world, you use Expedia to fill the rooms that you cannot sell yourself at a lower cost. And if you are a city center property midweek and you're not filling your rooms and you rely upon Expedia for that, you need to be rethinking the way you're doing it.
And understand, I'm only making this argument based on the fact of I don't think the brands should be making their deals at the mothership level. I think they should be looking at their brands inside of that. And I'll give the perfect example. Everyone who knows anything about traveling knows that if you're going to a city that has an intercontinental, the best thing to do is go Priceline and do the opaque pricing, because you will get that intercontinental at a fraction of what they're charging everywhere else, because they're so constricted in how they have to protect certain rates and everything, but they still need to fill the hotel. And most nights of the year, that hotel is not sold out, and it's not probably at the highest of occupancy that it needs to be at. So I've stayed at the Intercontinental at the top of the Spanish Steps for $79 a night when I couldn't even get a friends and family rate at any of our 30 other hotels we worked with in that market for anywhere under €200 a night. And I booked a Priceline opaque because I know how to fill this. So my point is that exists because there was overarching architectural rules that encompass a pretty wide portfolio of brands, and some of the sweet spots inside of there, if you know the algorithms and you know like how to game the system. And Intercontinental, the actual brand, not the overarching brand, Intercontinental is one of the ones that tends to have that. If there's an Intercontinental in a city, I will book it through Priceline opaque.
Okay, so let me. I still come back to this notion, though. Again, if you are the Intercon at the top of the Spanish Steps, you ought to be able to fill your rooms.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when every other hotel in that city that I had relationships with couldn't give me below €200. The city was full.
So that speaks to a much bigger problem than what their deal is with Expedia or Priceline or any of those folks.
Right. No, I want to ask a question. Okay, and this is legitimately a question with this. With and we mentioned this earlier in the start of the show, not the false start of the show, with the stock market finally showing some sense of reality. And making people realize that it's just not this progressive, fat and happy world that we're living in at the particular moment.
You mean we can't always just go up?
Yeah,
I know, right?
The stock market has corrections, really?
What? So, with that in mind, and talking about brand specific, okay, is it a house of cards for a brand right now, or is it a fortress for a brand right now? If I'm sitting owning that DoubleTree downtown somewhere. Because are you looking at it that the brand's going to be the sanctuary that says when all the crap hits the proverbial fan of realignments and realities and ups and downs and cycles and travel and so forth, that it's good that I'm a brand? Are you saying wow, you know what? I got brand saturation. I'm one flavor off of vanilla. If I was put into a blender, you couldn't see the swirl. Everything's the same.
There's no.
Like that analogy.
I don't think there's any blanket statement you can make there. I think
No, I don't think there is.
property. I think it depends on amenities. I think it depends on the location. I think it depends on.
Actually, I think it depends on the amount of
market segment.
the amount of debt sitting on the property that needs to be serviced is
Hey,
actually.
and that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yep.
As
How
someone
stretched are you?
as someone in a market that has a prominent hotelier with hotels in very prominent spaces that can afford to sell any of those hotels at $25 a night and does when he needs to, I can tell you that debt is the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's a great point.
No, that's a really excellent point. That how far
Absolutely.
do you stretch right now? Have you stretched yourself too far with the fifth layer of debt, or are you sitting happy and content? And you can, to your point, marginalize your revenue stream by saying, you know what, yeah, we can do that. And yes, it hurts, but it's not killing us. Yeah,
Right.
very, very,
And it's
very
keeping
glad for that.
the core employees employed.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Yep.
right.
Yeah, so I mean, and it
they're
sucks.
sending their
It sucks,
herd.
by the way, when there's a hotelier like that in the market, and you're not one of those hotels that can do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like life
And
becomes very
also,
difficult.
and also to your point, where are you in your FF&E and your capital expenditures? Are you
Right.
are you debt
Right.
tired, or are you
Right.
just after a recent refurb? And when the music stops and everybody's grabbing a chair, are you sitting with a good product in a good market, or are you sitting with a tired product and you got to look at, oh crap, I
Well,
gotta go
actually, if you're lucky, and you're sitting on a tired product, that's exactly the time to shut your doors and fix the place.
True.
I mean,
yeah, there's always a
realistically-
silver lining to something, right?
Right,
There's a
right.
silver lining to something. Yeah.
I mean, realistically,
Silver
I'll tell you-
lining from the owner's perspective, I think the employee
Yeah.
not call
Yeah,
that
no,
a silver
no,
lining.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, there's always culling the herd where you're getting rid of the dead and tired, and then there's also the ones that hurt. And there's
Right,
there's basically three
right.
layers to downsizing, and
Right.
the second and third layer are really the toughest when you have to let good people that you really can't replace go because you just can't keep them. And that happened for me personally in after 9/11. There was the first round, then there was the second round, then there was the third round. And Ed, to your point in Orlando, I remember friends that they were sharing housekeeping crews between hotels because and most of those crews were former GMs that the only gig they could get was to clean a room because their hotel was shuttered. And then sections of hotels that were just left to mold because you couldn't even pay the power to be on.
Yep.
for
Hey,
that building.
if everyone remembers the Delta Orlando Resort, anyone remember that? It's no longer
Yeah.
there. It's been torn down,
Yeah.
but that just mysteriously shut its doors. That place was huge.
Mhm.
I mean, you're talking about a sprawling campus resort with a major convention center right across from the entrance of Universal Studios, and it was that one was taken out by 9/11. Like 9/11's business killed that property. It didn't get torn down for almost a decade.
Right.
But I wish somebody would actually write a book about the days and times of, or I think Orlando was a microcosm of really people to remember. It's kind of like the tragedies should be remembered. The bloodbath that happened in Orlando after 9/11, the implosion that happened. And if you could write that so that people will remember what it's like when the economy does have a tragedy that creates that environment, the drama and the trauma to everybody involved with it, because it really did. There was so many people that were good people that are no longer in this industry.
There were
And then
more
it was-
hotels managed by intermediary management companies keeping them open for the banks than there were hotels being operated by, permanent operators.
Right.
Like from 9/11, I remember that. Like that back then, I was working for an OTA in the area, and I remember dealing with these new types of management companies that, we work for the bank.
Hey, if the cash wasn't in the safe, the bill didn't get paid. I mean, honestly, I lived in that world. I mean, if the money wasn't in the safe, the bill, and that was power bills, that was electric bills, and then the water bills and everything else.
Right.
And you paid salaries based on cash.
Yep.
That was it.
Okay, so we're talking
Actually-
about the dark times that are potentially coming, but Expedia is struggling in probably the best economy we've seen in a long time. So,
And that's how it's always
Yes.
But
And
that's how it's
what-
always been.
Yep.
Look at when Priceline blew up. Priceline blew up in the worst economic
That's exactly
times.
right.
Easy
people
Yield.
relied on them,
Easy
right?
Yield's fastest growth years were the year of the financial meltdown and the years after that.
Yeah,
and it was
absolutely.
because anything that made you more efficient in making money or made you more money, is what hotels
Incremental.
focused
Yeah.
on.
Right.
And people miss this a lot. If you look at the cycle of boom and bust, and you look at the cycle of people booking through OTAs versus booking direct, it has always tracked with the economy, right?
Yep.
Consistently.
Absolutely.
So I mean, Stuart, we all knew. I worked for a hotel company that negotiated with OTAs after 9/11. We all knew we were making horrible deals because we had no choice. Right?
Yeah.
Now things are good. Everybody can play hardball.
Right. Because it's the business model. There's no risk. It's pay on delivered business, right? There's no upfront marketing, all of that stuff. There's limited demand. They have better demand aggregation, and it's just a structural issue. So the worst year, I think I mentioned this before on the show, the worst year in the history of the hotel industry, dating back to the Great Depression, when CBRE was PKF, and they actually kept track of this back in the 30s. The worst year was, I think, 2009, maybe 2010, but I think it was 2009. That at that point, record year for OTAs. Right. And that it's always been that way. And you go, well, that shouldn't be right. And it's like, oh yeah, that's where I need the business, and the brands can't have a really difficult time delivering on that. And
so that's the thing.
And if the bottom drops out of this in a year, nobody knows when the music will actually stop. And let's be fair, if it's a normal downturn, it'll affect different markets differently.
But it can't be a normal downturn at this point. It's already past due.
Sure. But it's not likely to be a 9/11 or a 2009 downturn.
We hope.
Either.
Well, you hope. If there is something like that, watch out. Right? Then you've got a real problem. Yeah.
But in any kind of downturn, I mean, what is likely to happen is, and I mean, it's what we're all saying is, Expedia is going to do great. They're going to report fantastic results. Priceline will report fantastic results, and the brands will be the ones who are reporting terrible results. Because anybody who's got to renegotiate their deal the day after the music stops is in deep.
Oh, and I'm sorry. And that's going to be every deal south of 18%. When I mean, and it's going to be land grab, and it's going to be ruthless because they have to. Because
it's also going to be easy.
We're going further and further between economic cycles, and we're going higher and higher and higher in between them, which means and there's no economic policy left for stimulus.
Absolutely. And that's a huge, the Fed has a big problem because things turn down. They've got, a 1.5 of interest rates to be able to play with. I think the Fed funds rate's like 1.5 right now, right? They can't go drop a couple points out. So.
Well, and to that point of
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, just one last point. And then point to that land grab, and it was one of the more frustrating aspects of when we had a downturn in 2008 with the company I was working with at the time. It is easy land grab because all the ownership groups, the first thing they do is batten down the hatches, shutter down the costs, and let's hunker down. And they literally will rescind all their marketing aspects to salvage cash flow. Okay,
right.
Yeah, and so anybody can make it market.
Expedia's cost of acquiring consumer drops because of it, and they just blow up.
But there's a difference this time, though. Like the ecosystem is different because if you look at Expedia and where the majority of their marketing budget is currently spent, it's on Google, right? Google's making a big push right now to control the consumer. You look at what they're doing with, and we'll talk about this in a second, but with the Google hotel stuff that they're doing, the reason that Expedia's advertising costs have gone up 16% in the last quarter is because Google is making it harder for them to spend money because they're pushing their inventory. And we see that. We run GHA for a lot of our clients, and it's been a great return for a long time, but it's only recently that it started getting the volume to be really meaningful. And so you've got Google, you've got TripAdvisor in there as well, which I still think Priceline or Expedia are going to buy at some point. But both of those have more control than they've ever had before. Expedia could be muscled out, especially when folks like Airbnb are coming into the market as well.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, can we do a quick case study? And I'm going to have to leave in 10 minutes. I'll post all the Google stuff, but I'll have to step out to do that. But okay, so we talked about the HSMAI Digital Marketing Conference in New York, right? I'm going in from the 20th to the 25th, right? So I'm going to go to the conference. My wife and I go have a long weekend type thing. So here's the case study. I've got a booking right now at the DoubleTree, right in Times Square or something like that, and it's actually it's a DoubleTree South, right? So it's not the DoubleTree Suites, it's the one south, but it's $600 total for the 5 days. It's insanely low rate, pretty good hotel, not great. That was my safety hotel, right? Fully cancelable, fully refundable. So now I'm starting to look around, and this is kind of the sweet spot. You go to Hotwire, Times Square, 4.5-star hotel, 90% recommended, 4.5 circles on TripAdvisor, $124 a night. So it's going to be $800. It's $200 more. But that's pretty appealing. Non-cancelable, non-refundable, but that's okay. Or you can go over to booking.com and go, oh, look, here's the Citizen M. It's got a 9.2 rating, location 9.7, same sort of price, $825. So who wins in that? And I think that's the dynamic that people start looking. Okay, yeah, brand direct sort of thing. I got that, but now I've got, do I want what's in box number 3? Or here's this other thing that's pretty cool. What do you guys do?
I'm staying at the Paramount, which is just separated by a street from the Marriott Marquis, and
absolutely, yeah.
I got it for less than $100 a night.
I went over and found out the Marquis lost a big group block, and at that right time, I went in, and of course, as to Robert's point, you just have to find the one common revenue manager factor that decided to drop their pants for about an hour.
No. I called them.
I picked it up for $109.
The Marquis?
You got the Marriott Marquis for $109?
I was about the same. I'm at the Marquis too for just over $100 a night.
Wow.
Yeah. Now wait, did you book on their website, or how did you wind up just straight on Marriott?
Straight on Marriott.
Wow.
Well, yeah, it was a timing thing. The block dropped. I heard it from a friend that heard it, that thing, and went in, and sure enough, the revenue manager, they because it's like clockwork. They watch their screen, and when the little thing goes from red to green or green to red, they hit a monkey button, and they went over.
Do monkeys come out when you hit the monkey button, or
they fly out of something? I'm not telling you where, but they fly out of something, and caught it.
Wow.
And like Stuart and I, boom, yeah man. Caught the right time.
The Paramount is $80 a night. It's a nice hotel. Ironically,
resort
it's
fee.
I don't know. I don't pay those. But probably.
Yeah.
Well, the facility fee is always going to be at $25, $35. That's pretty much market centric right now.
Yeah.
It's $25, $35.
I didn't pay $80 a night. I work with the management company that manages the Paramount. Called in a friend
for little ways.
Yes. But I will say, so last year I did the row, and actually I asked again for the row this year. They're sold out, which is amazing because that's a huge property.
It is a huge property.
And then the Paramount's just on the other side of the Marriott Marquis. I have not stayed at the Marriott Marquis for this event once, and it's because I got to be honest with you, it's not that nice of a property. I can't stomach paying the type of rate that they get for that property for a not like
109. 109 is
109.
But 275.
I think when I looked, it was like 300, and I'm sorry, that's not a $300 a night hotel. By product, sure. By location, I get it. Whatever. I'll go with a different product to
see Tim getting his top 25 award and then just leaving. But they're probably rolling out the red carpet. There'll be little heralds with little horns and little flags hanging off the end. There's a little angelic choir, and then they take the spot from the top in the atrium and shoot it down at the check-in when he comes in. Right on.
And then it reflects off my head and blinds half the city.
You beat me to it, Tim. You beat me to it.
Hey, Google before you go, Mr. Robert.
Before I go, yes. Let me post some Google stuff. Yes, Google.
By the way, I just posted a comment that got marked as spam. If you want to spam me, Lauren, I'd appreciate that.
What is with the? I can't.
Lauren has an auto spam something set up on his.
It isn't. I don't know what the hell it is.
Google story. Figured out. We just talk crap.
Okay, so the big one I really thought was Google is messing around with their hotel interface, right? The user interface, and they are doing what? Yeah.
Say it's not so.
And guess what? They got serious about it, guys.
Yeah.
They aren't messing around anymore. Yes, and they've made changes on the desktop site, but look at what happens on a mobile device, and it is really, really good.
Yes.
They go, you have swipeable pictures at the top. They've got little indicators that's in the top 10% of the hotels in that destination. You have little charts of the pricing day by day, and these are good values. You've got the rooms. You can swipe through the rooms where there's a picture of them. Really, really good usability. So yeah, watch out for that. And right smack dab in the search results, which is certainly a biggie, but even more, I've always talked about Google Flights, that it was so insanely fast, right?
I love Google Flights.
Right.
Oh, no. Okay, so all of these dates for the hotels now have the arrival date with a little left and right button and a departure date with a little left and right button. When you pop those, 1 second, new rates, and this is not honestly,
totally.
Single property across all the different distribution channels, so you can play around. That's really, really powerful.
The other thing
stuff.
that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about with this same rollout, they've been testing this for a while, but when you actually come onto the search page for an actual property name, like if you're searching for whether it's branded or unbranded, you search for a property name and a destination, underneath the local pack now, where it's usually had the call, visit website, view, whatever, there's now this big button that has a different color. So it's got the contrasting color that really stands out that says reserve room. And that's going into the Google Hotel ad platform. So they're serious. They're ready to.
And then when you add the fact that Google Hotel Finder is rumored sometime this year to move over to the Google AdWords platform.
And they definitely are.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm taking a victory lap. I'm sorry. I am.
Is this an I told you so moment?
This is one of Tim's. Welcome to the section called Tim's I Told You So moment, brought to you by Tim and Associates.
And I don't do this very often, but I got receipts on this one because I've got posts on the site going back to 2014 saying this was coming, in the sense that the mistake everybody has made is they talk about meta search and they talk about all these other kinds of things and all this other happy horse crap. Search is search. Search is search. This is just a feature, right? This is the fact of the matter is they've always had this capability. We've known for a long time that someday they were probably going to turn it on. And now everything else we've talked about is just, it's search, man. It's just search.
Yeah, but Tim, when you put it that way, you eliminate things for executives in large companies to sound smart by talking about a trendy topic. Like if you're gonna not allow them to talk about shiny objects that actually mean nothing or have like no change from what always has been known, then what are these executives going to talk about?
Well, but this is where I wish I could post comments because I wasn't getting marked as spam. I mean, I've got a blog post from 2014, The Big Myth About Hotel Meta Search. I got another one, Search, Meta Search, What's the Difference? The reality is this has always had to be true, right? This was coming, and we've seen hints of it all along. Like, I didn't make this up. I didn't predict the future. I was just predicting the present. Right? When Orbit started taking metasearch stuff and putting it into Demand Media or whoever it was, they were taking their stuff and popping it into the regular search results. It's just search engines, man. They're just features. And of course Google was going to do this. And it just proves that Google and Expedia happen to be in the same business. One happens to be more focused on a specific vertical. One happens to be a little more horizontal, but increasingly vertical. And this is the thing that actually is going to cause problems for Expedia and things like that in the next downturn.
Yeah. Well, it is now. I don't think you can underestimate the impact that Google's announcements have had on the current price of Expedia. There's a lot going on, but this is a piece of it. This is
for sure.
I agree.
And the reality is Google had no choice because the dirty little secret in the room that nobody likes to talk about is You go back 5 years, and Google had about 75% share of all searches that were conducted in the United States, and their number was much, much bigger outside the United States, outside of China and Russia, right? But in most other countries. And the reality is, over the last bunch of years, they've been clawing it back slowly this year, but if you go back a year ago, they'd lost about 4 or 5 points in search share because where they lost it to were apps. People weren't searching on a different search engine, but they were opening up the Expedia app when they wanted to do that kind of search.
Or Amazon when they're shopping.
Amazon's been crushing it too. Yeah, Amazon as well.
They're opening up. Right. So that's where Google was getting hammered. And think about how much money Google makes from search. By the way, the answer to that question is all of it. Right? Like 98% of their profits come from search ads. A point of share to them is, I don't know, maybe like $500 million in profitability. That's a big ass number, man. So they had no choice but to do this.
Yeah.
This was
they have two main clients right now. The majority of the revenue on the travel vertical is coming from Priceline and Expedia, which is another middleman paying a middleman to get to the consumer. They can eliminate them completely.
This was inevitable, and it's just search.
And
so
gee,
anyway, I'm off my
the big announcements. I think it was Booking.com that made a big announcement about like doubling down on television.
Yeah,
and pulling back from their Google spend. I think it was them, right? It was Booking. Gee, I wonder if that has anything to do with this.
Just a little, maybe.
Well, and you look at Trivago. Trivago's having issues now too in terms of getting spent.
Well, again, Trivago is not a company; it's a feature.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
And I got to be honest, I like when features stop being companies.
Robert, before, I know
I've got to go. Yep.
I've got to head out. If you want to know you, find you, all that kind of stuff, where do they go?
You go to Robert K. Cole on social media or rockcheetah.com.
Excellent, Robert. Thank you very much for us putting the topics together.
Have a great rest of the thing. You guys have 2 or 3 more hours to go, right?
That's 4 or 5. It's marathon week. Come on, it's marathon week.
I can only hang for another minute or two, but I don't want to just bounce because I've been in and out for the whole show.
Hey, Robert, before you go really quickly, what was your rut row? I didn't get why that was a rut row. Like
the rut row?
The Disney autonomous things?
It's not really a rut row. That was just kind of a little tongue in. Disney has autonomous, like face scanning, personalized robots getting released out there.
I thought you were saying it was a bad thing. I think it's super awesome, especially
until it's weaponized.
These things are. The cool thing about the sort of rut row is these things are standalone. They aren't really hooked up to a large server farm with big cable. They are doing this themselves. So. Yeah.
Man, the Hall of Presidents is about to get really creepy.
Okay, I gotta go, guys.
I noticed you voted Republican this year.
Hey, Tim, before you go as well, but I want to begin.